Mentors and coaches are those who have gone the way you are about to go. When they talk, it's important to listen. You might appear to be more successful than somebody that has an experience, but let the experience of that person become a leverage for your struggles. You would never compare a sergeant who survived war with a general who has never been to war. A lot of people are entangled with what is not working. Don't be emotionally entangled with what is not working. Stop loving what does not love your bills. A lot of people are passionate about their business, but they are making a passionate mistake because your passion does not have a product. Therefore, there is no profit coming to you. Some people will say, this is not what I want to study. This is what I love to do. But you are doing it and you are struggling. Why? You're making a passionate mistake. You need to put that passion on a profitable platform in order to invite profit. If your passion is not paying you, you are making a passionate mistake. You need a recovery plan. God has never failed. So why should Christians fail? This question and many more about failure have greeted me in many spaces. And I'm sure probably there are questions on your own mind as well. Why do people fail? Why do businesses fail? Why do organizations collapse? What exactly could be responsible for business failure, financial failure, relationship failure, parental failure, failure in all ramifications? What could be responsible for it? But what steps also can we take in order to recover from failure and become a success? These and many more you will be learning as we go through this session. Welcome again to the Principles of Business Breakthrough. And I can assure you that before this session is over, that failure you have been sulking about, you're going to be glad that it happened. And you're going to learn how to get out of it and become the success you have always wanted to be. I tell you and I kid you not, failure is not final. Failure is just the beginning of the best that you can ever be. My name is Julius Afolabi, and I welcome you to this episode one more time. And today we are going to be looking at failure, why it happens, and failure management. The best of the best in the world, in every ramification, in business, in life, in sports, in career, are those who failed and got mad with failure to become a success. You see, success is putting failure at a respectable distance. Harvard Business Review once stated that it is 2.5% more likely that those who fail will improve in their innovation and succeed further. What exactly is failure management? If you have never had failure management before, I could tell you a little story about myself. In my secondary school days, I was very good in business-related subjects in my junior secondary. But while I was to transit to the senior secondary, where we're supposed to specify whether to become arts or science students, there was the popular lie that science students are better or they read better. And I love to read. So because of that popular lie, I was trapped by the bandwagon effect, the crowd mentality, and moved to sciences. But my best areas were what? In business-related courses, business-related subjects. In science, I struggled. I was like a square peg in a round hole. Definitely, it might fit, but it would be with a lot of injuries. So I was failing beautifully in chemistry. Physics was not so much of a nightmare because I was good in mathematics. My highest score in chemistry was 46, and my notes were never complete. So chemistry became a threat to what my WAEC result was going to look like. When I got to SS3, when WAEC was about to be written, first time SS3, I told myself, Julius, if you continue with science, you're going to fail chemistry. And that's going to be a problem. Besides, I wasn't sure of what was going to be my course of study if I was a science student. Because I was particular about reviving an ailing economy. That was my first passion, reviving an ailing economy. That's the first thing that sang in my head. And I wanted to study economics. So, what did I do? I had to change from sciences to commercial class. That was tough. At what? SS3. Right? At SS3. So what did I do? I went to my commerce and accounting teacher. And what they told me was that it's impossible for you to change at that level because you're writing WAEC in 6 months' time. How are you going to do it? So they told me to do what? To write a letter of indemnity to the school that I was going to score above 60% in these subjects I'm changing to. My parents were not so lettered to understand what my predicaments were. So the best I could do was to write the letter of undertaking myself. I took responsibility and wrote the letter of undertaking, signed it, and submitted it to the teachers. What was the next step that I took after writing the letter of indemnity to the school? Commerce was just like any other course you could read and understand, but accounting was more technical than that. So all I did was to find the best students in accounting. One of them was a very close friend of mine. His name was Onyebuchi Onwube. So I decided that I was going to spend 2 hours every day after school with Onyebuchi Onwube. I would go with him home. And he taught me accounting at home, 2 hours, committed 2 hours daily, over 6 months to learn accounting. At the end of the day when we wrote our WAEC, right, I made an A2 in commerce and had a C6 in accounting. I didn't fail. Eventually, I studied accounting. My friend that taught me accounting did not study accounting. Today, I'm a professional accountant. What did I do? 2 things were obvious. U-turn and failure management. U-turn and failure management. It's happened to me in business too. Remember, I mentioned in our earlier episodes, if you have not watched any, I'd like you to go back to them and you learn more from it, that I've done 6-figure businesses that failed. Why? Because I engaged and I embraced the business with inadequate knowledge. Whatever it is that you engage with inadequate knowledge, inadequate skill, you are irresponsible about the responsibilities, you will definitely fail at them. But the reason why I say failure is not final is that what? That you fail does not mean that you are sentenced to life imprisonment on that particular note. Remember my story? I just told you my story now, right? Failure happens because of ignorance, irresponsibility, and what? Incompetence. 3 things that will embarrass you in the face of a big opportunity: ignorance, irresponsibility, and incompetence. Why do people fail? Poor knowledge, poor skill, inadequate support. It happens even in relationship. Why do relationships fail? Lack of understanding. The inability to know exactly what you want and what the other party wants. The moment there is a gap in our priorities and our values, it will collapse. That's why he said that until the edge is broken, the serpent cannot bite. The serpent cannot bite. Let's take a typical example and amplify our lens for business. Let's look at business, the business of Peter, as Christian and business-minded people. Peter was an expert at fishing. He was born by the riverside. So, the best that he could do was fishing. And as a fisherman, a day came that he failed. He got to the riverbank, did everything that he knew to do, but he caught nothing. But something happened. When he was about to give up, someone offered him a help. Jesus came on the scene and said, "Can I use the boat that has not produced for you from morning till evening to do something else?" And he said, "Okay, I will." He offered his boat. Sometimes what you're using, your tool of business may not be working in your hands. It doesn't stop you from renting it out rather than draining yourself and losing it all. So he gave out. He volunteered his boat to Jesus, and Jesus taught about business success principles, life success principles. And he took a cue from it. I'm telling you that Jesus must have taught so well that made him that was frustrated to sit down till the end of the seminar. And because he paid rapt attention to what Jesus was talking about, a point came after the seminar ended. Jesus knew what his problem was. Sometimes mentors and coaches are those who have gone the way you are about to go. When they talk, it's important to listen. You might appear to be more successful than somebody that has an experience, but let the experience of that person become a leverage for your struggles. You would never compare a sergeant who survived war with a general who has never been to war. Peter listened, and Jesus said, the same place that you failed, you could succeed there, only if you would change your approach. And Jesus said, why have you not caught anything? He said, I have been fishing all day and I did not catch anything. What Jesus was asking was different from what he was saying. Sometimes lack of clarity would make people fail. Jesus said, no, I'm not asking for your excuses. The same place, he said, launch into the deep. You have been what? Fishing on the surface. Go into the deep. That's why I said insufficient knowledge, insufficient skill, irresponsibility can make you fail. So Peter, despite his experience, failed that day because he was fishing on the surface. Jesus said, launch into the deep. Maybe all you need is a deeper knowledge. For instance, I was trapped into the popular lie that science students are always better and they succeed better and they read better. And because I had a passion for reading, I moved to the wrong lane and I had to pay for it dearly. And I failed in sciences, but I didn't make the failure final. If Peter had wrapped up his nets and say, what good is sitting down to talk to you after the misery of the day, he would have failed finally, and that would have been the end of it. But he said, I have listened to you, you made sense. He said, nevertheless, at your word, I would what? Cast my net. And to his amazement, when he launched into the deep, he had an exponential catch. He had a net-breaking harvest. His failure, extreme failure, 0, was converted into extreme success. A net-breaking harvest. From no catch to all forms of cash. All forms of catch. That was what? Failure management. But what can we learn in this process? Failure management is simply identifying, addressing, and improving in a particular process for future outcome. Is what failure management is, what identifying your failure, addressing your failure, and drawing lessons that improve you for future success. That's what it means. Michael Jordan, one of the highest paid basketballers in athletics, said he succeeded because he failed more times than he has succeeded. He lost on so many, at so many practice shots, his 3-point shots, so many shots that he lost in practice, more than the ones he made during matches. If we take a clue from the story of Abraham Lincoln, you know how many times he failed before he eventually became the president. He failed every step of the way, but his failure was not final. Why? Because he did not give up. There are 3 capital steps in managing failure. Now we know the reasons why we fail and where things fail. Because of what? Poor knowledge, poor skill, poor leverage. 3 capital ways to manage your life. Number 1 is to acknowledge accept and acknowledge your failure. I came to a point where I realized that I will be deceiving myself and living in a fool's paradise in sciences. Maybe you are yet to accept the fact that that particular business needs a change somewhere, a change of approach somewhere. That's why you are drowning in debts and suffering without help. Peter came to a point where he said, nevertheless, he acknowledged his failure. Right? So acknowledging that you have accepting that I have failed and acknowledging the failure to a large extent begins to prepare you for success. Research has it that 20% of those who failed innovate and improve for better success. Right? There is no one that you see that is exceptional today that hasn't failed before. Well, I didn't complete my story. When I wrote my exams, that particular WAEC exams, the result was seized. When the result was seized after 6 years, the same day that the result was seized was the same day I packed back my books, ready to write again, even though I didn't know where I was going to get the money to register again. My parents weren't buoyant to register me again, but I didn't know where the money was going to come from. But I packed back my book, ready to write again. By the time I rewrote my WAEC the second time, I had all my papers cleared, and 7 days after the second one that I wrote, the result came out. The first one was released, so I had 2 results. Right? What if I gave up? I would have never been educated today. I would have never been educated today. So we have to accept and analyze our failure. Then number 2 is to develop a recovery plan. Number 2 is to what? Develop a recovery plan. What do we mean by developing a recovery plan? When you have identified where your failure is coming from, the first thing to do is to stop the leakage and start, how will I stop this from reoccurring? Recovery simply means that what? You are preparing and packaging yourself to forestall the former experience and ensure that a better experience happens. You want to recover back from where you're coming from. It's part of what resilience. They call it anti-fragility. You can bend, but don't break. Right? So recover, you develop what? A recovery plan. How am I going to do it better? It's going to start from what did I do wrong? Identifying what you did wrong in the first place. If it was lack of knowledge, go for more knowledge. Right? If it was lack of support, seek collaboration and partnership. Make sure you are operating at your highest strength and outsource your weakest what? Weaknesses. Right? Because the height of your success is directly related to your weakest skill. So your recovery plan begins from identifying where the problem is and stopping that, and then initiate a new method into doing better. If you have to learn, do so. If you need support, do so. If you need to ask questions, a lot of people don't ask questions. We suffer in silence. You can't be in an abusive relationship and refuse to talk to somebody. You might not get out of it alive. Your life can be much more better and worth much more if you would speak to somebody, a sincere person that would give you the right counsel. Right? Rather than losing your life trying, why don't you do what? Embrace counsel that can change your situation. That is what? Initiate a recovery plan. A plan is a what? Series of action steps that changes your situation, that improves your process and delivers your desired outcome. Right? So, step-by-step guide into doing very much better. Look at my recovery plan. I met a secondary school mate that was better than I do and was committed. I committed 2 hours into learning. That was my recovery plan. Right? That was my recovery plan. For Peter, his recovery plan was to let down his nets, right? And that instruction said, nevertheless, despite what I know, I will leave what is not working. A lot of people are entangled with what is not working. Don't be emotionally entangled with what is not working. Stop loving what does not love your bills. A lot of people are passionate about their business, but they are making a passionate mistake because your passion does not have a product. Therefore, there is no profit coming to you. Some people will say, this is not what I want to study. This is what I love to do. But you are doing it and you are struggling. Why? You're making a passionate mistake. You need to put that passion on a profitable platform in order to invite profit. If your passion is not paying you, you are making a passionate mistake. You need a recovery plan. And finally, is to do what? Seek continuous improvement. Seek what? Continuous improvement. We live in an evolving world, a fast-changing world, where yesterday's strategies are obsolete for today's challenges. What worked yesterday, there are no guarantees it will work today. Remember during the COVID-19, a lot of disruptions happened. A lot of businesses were buried. Why? Because they couldn't recover from the heat. Some were fast in recovering. They quickly changed their model, their business model, and they survived. Right? The fast foods could not open their shop, but they create dispatch riders. And what happened? Their business survived. Right? They began, you can order from home and then you can get dispatched somehow. Right? Things were working. Online. Schools started, they quickly innovated and started online. Children could not go to school, but they could do what? They could attend lectures online. So the online business became blossoming because of that disruption. While many businesses failed, some business transited and some businesses were grounded. New businesses opened up. When you fail, don't quit. That you fail at one thing does not mean you fail at everything. Take the learnings of the failure of the past and invest it in your present, a new architect or a new business or a new thing or a new skill. And then you find out that you will do what? You will succeed. That you failed yesterday is not a guarantee that you will fail today and you will fail tomorrow. There is more ahead of you than whatever it is that you lost in the past. Don't give up. Identify that you failed, develop a recovery plan, and never stop growing yourself. That is when you convert your failure into success. Make lemonades from your lemon grape, and then you move from sour to a sweet experience. I don't know how this particular episode has been a blessing to you. We'd like to hear from you. And from where this came, there is more. So don't miss the next episode. And thank you for watching. I remain Julius Afolabi.